We know what to do, but we don't do it.
For a lot of people, I guess the term is, and someone said this to me recently, fake it till you make it. But it's all part of the growing and the learning and the empowering.
I think we're always good people. The needle's always on this side, and we just got to learn from those mistakes. Well, you failed to convince me. You think what I'm thinking?
Probably not.
Welcome to another amazing episode of
Into
Minds, where heart
and hustle
meet the mic. I can't believe that we've made it to 20 episodes.
It's crazy, eh?
Man, I think that's amazing. And I think that, man, when we do 50 episodes, we need to throw a party.
yeah,
Your
we
shout.
should. Yep, sounds good.
But that, I think that's an amazing feat to do 20 episodes, especially with how busy life is and what have you. But, it shows how important I feel that our audience is to us, our viewers are to us, that, there's been times during this journey that's been like, is this actually helpful to anybody? And then someone will flick a message or something that says thank you. And I'm just like, so grateful that I know that it's not just one person now that we're reaching, that there's a couple more, which is amazing. But as we look back over the past 10 episodes that we've done, what's been one of your main takeaways that you've had from that?
A lot. I think there's a lot that I've learned, and I would just want to start off by saying though, it's awesome that we've got into 20 episodes. It's a big feat for us, and I think it's something not to be taken lightly. We need to keep this momentum going, and I do want to reflect on the lessons that we've learned over these past few episodes, and there's been some incredible episodes that have gone out, and I think a big, massive takeaway for me is a general theme I've noticed through the episodes was a lot about how we know what to do, but we don't do it.
Are you talking about my weight loss again?
No, but I think it's been such an interesting theme across all of our episodes about there's so many things we want to do, want to achieve, but we just don't do it. And I saw this incredible video that I actually found quite inspiring. Basically, there's this guy, he's in a gym, right? If you were to join this journey for me, right? They're in a gym, and there are these two dumbbells on the floor. And the guy says to the other one, try and pick those dumbbells up. So the guy goes, picks the dumbbells up, and he goes, no, put them back down. Okay, try and pick those dumbbells up. He picks the dumbbells up, and he goes, no, I said try, not do. So he puts the dumbbells down, and he says, this is exactly what it is in life with so many people. There's no try, just do, right? He's not trying to pick the dumbbells up, he's picking the dumbbells up, he's doing it. And I think for us, applying this to ourselves, for us starting this podcast, there was a lot of us trying to do it, but then when we just did it, things just work out, right? And I think that's an important thing to start for so many people, is to just start. So just start doing something, whatever it is, whether it's, habits that we've talked about. We talked about overcoming trauma. We've talked about working through challenges in your life that may seem unexpected. Instead of trying to do those things, just do it. That's the best place to start, is by doing, rather than always thinking about trying.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Because, what you're saying there is everything, you have a choice. And you've got to make that choice to pick up the dumbbells or not. And when you make that choice and you just do it, then things open up. I think we talked about confidence. Confidence comes from doing. By experimenting, and sometimes we're going to make mistakes when we do it, might pick the dumbbells up wrong, or whatever, but we learn from it and we make sure we don't do that again, and then it gives us the confidence to move forward and keep going. It's all around that growth mindset of, I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. Well, I guess a question that I have tagging off of that is, why do you think so many people know what to do but still fail to do it?
Oh, you slipped that word fail in there. Can we change it to just don't do it? Or, I think life happens too, though, as well, is that life gets in the way, that sometimes there's distractions, there's barriers that get in the way. I know that if I want to be the fitness that I want to be, I need to increase my cardio. But for me, cardio is hard. It's hard, takes effort, and it means sacrificing a bit of something that I love to do that. But I know it's going to be so beneficial for me. So I just need to get my head around that. But at the moment, I'm loving the weight training. And for me, I justify it by, well, at least I'm weight training and not doing nothing. Do you know what I mean? So maybe justification is a barrier that gets in our way. Because we all know there's things in our lives or facets in our lives that need to be addressed. But we're kind of either procrastinating or justifying not addressing it. Sometimes it's fear, though, too. And especially for those who've experienced trauma, there is a lot of fear around change, And so, one of the biggest things of PTSD that we talked about was avoidance. So sometimes it's avoiding things that will have to change because of, decision making, all that stuff, because things won't be the same, and it's quite comfortable to be in that space for a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess maybe it's just because I have a different mindset when it comes to things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just think people make excuses. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the reason people don't do stuff is because there's an excuse, right? And what's the difference between a good and a bad excuse?
No excuse.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They're both an excuse.
Yeah.
So excuses, I think sometimes people justify their behavior, or I wouldn't say like a bad behavior or a poor behavior, or maybe is a better term, but people justify their poor behavior with a bad excuse or an excuse. And this isn't everyone. This is just an observed thing I've seen with some people. And so I think it's important. Can you give me an
example? Because I'm trying to get my head around that, because in my line of work, I see people who have every right to make excuses to not change behavior for a time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to get my head around what you mean by a poor behavior.
Like, for example, my own personal gym journey that I've talked about, I, for a while now, have been wanting to cut. And so it was trying. I've been trying to cut, right? Instead of just cutting and doing. And so the poor excuse for me through that time of trying was, I'm bulking, or I'm just eating food, eating whatever. Those were the poor excuses. Whereas now, where I'm like, okay, cool, I'm just going to fix my diet. I'm going to make sure I'm doing cardio, and I'm working working out harder than I have ever before. I'm starting to lose weight. I'm starting to cut. I'm starting to shred a lot more. So those were just poor excuses to hold me back from doing, because I was so focused on trying to cut. And so it's been really cool, just that shift of mindset from trying to doing. And now, the results are starting to show a lot more, and it's cool because that applies to everything. Habits as well. We've talked about in our episode when we talked about habits, right? We talked about building healthy habits, and it's replacing bad habits with good ones. And so I feel like it's just replacing the bad habit of trying with the good habit of doing. And with habits, on that note, my habit of wanting to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, I started to slip a little bit. really bad actually. Slipped in my waking up and my training, whereas now I was like making excuses. I've been up all night with baby. Didn't get to bed till late because of X, Y, and Z. Whereas now I'm just like, who cares? I'm just going to wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm just going to wake up, have a productive morning, get back into my awesome routine, go to the gym, have an amazing workout. And then I come home and whatever happens, happens. I can make excuses there. But still, it's important for me to stick to that and do it because it's building my character. And I feel like I'm growing from this.
But also Taylor talked about a bit about the importance of routine and structure and starting off your day in a good space, and his insanely incredible routine.
Oh, man. What a crazy routine, eh?
Yeah.
Awesome, should I say? I'll say awesome.
Yes. Awesome. I look at it and I'm tired just listening to it. It's very intense and it's 2 hours. Right,
Well, his morning routine, is that what you're talking about?
Just his morning routine alone, let alone his nighttime routine as well. But I learned a lot from that too, of the importance of routine for, for those who have ADHD, or in fact, I think even with you who doesn't have a diagnosis of that, I think you're reaping the benefits of having a nice structured morning as well and a routine that I feel like sets the foundation for the day. Doesn't it? If you do something that you feel like, even go to the gym, doing what Taylor does and all that, you've already started on a day where you've already achieved something before you've even left home. A
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I genuinely, I would love to even just do a full episode on routines. Like the impact of having a good morning routine and all of that stuff. I feel like that would be an interesting episode to talk about. But the viewers will let us know if that's something they're interested in hearing or not. But yeah, it was crazy just even hearing how throughout his day it's so monotonous. It's so like, at this time I'm eating this and this. At this time I'm going for a walk, From the second he wakes up till the minute he goes to bed, everything is laid out. And I found that inspiring, to be honest, to be like, routine and structure helps. He does it for his own personal reasons. With his ADHD and autism, he wants the structure, but he also needs that routine. Otherwise he will go crazy, right? So it was cool seeing how he uses structure and routine to help him personally develop and grow with the diagnosis. Yeah,
I would have liked to have explored more about when something gets in the way of your routine, how does that impact him, and also what it's like for his wife and his family. Because living with someone who's quite structured could be quite challenging, I would assume, sometimes, and like he said, his wife gets a bit hoo-ha with all his equipment that he buys, all his new stuff that's filling up their house, but that'd be something really interesting to learn a little bit more about, and because people's structure, how does that impact on others? And I know you're waking up at 5 o'clock, and I keep saying, please, can you wake up at 5:30 for the gym, just so we can go that little half hour later. But I know it's important to you, and so that's why I adapt what I want for my routine to be able to accommodate yours.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason I wake up at 5, there's various reasons, but there's a really cool book. The most recent book I've read, cover to cover, it's called The 5 a.m. Club. And so, I just want to be part of the 5 a.m. club because it talks about routine and structure and how your morning sets up your day. So if you start the morning well, then you're going to have an amazing day. And so I just want to make sure that, taking into account what I want to do in the morning, 5 o'clock gives me enough time to accomplish as many things as I can in that short time frame, if that makes sense. So, for example, I want to be reading my scriptures. I want to be reading a chapter from a book, and I also, want to brush my teeth, all of that stuff. So I have my own simple morning routine that is an hour before we even head out to go to the gym, and then I have an incredible workout, and then come home and the day starts.
Surprise, it's us again. Okay, we just want to say how much we really appreciate your feedback that you give us, and we'd also really appreciate if you could like and subscribe, as I know there's lots of people watching, but no one's actually liking and subscribing, and you know how fragile my ego is.
All right, enough waffling. We'll let you get back to the video. Thank you. So we talk about Taylor and his, routine and everything, but I thought it was super interesting because he said, in his own words, he always felt like something was out of kilter. And that's kind of like the invisible struggles I think a lot of people have. And you shared some of your traumatic, you didn't go explicitly into some of your traumatic experiences, but you talked about a lot of the trauma that you've had, and I feel like you do a pretty good job of masking it. So I wonder if there's so much more struggles that people don't see behind the scenes.
But it's also the term masking. It's like, when you mask something, you put on your masquerade kind of mask that you have to present what you want to present in a situation, and so for a lot of people, I guess the term is, and someone said this to me recently, fake it till you make it, and it's putting on that mask of, I guess, conforming, or like I think about Taylor, and I think about, the Taylor that I've known for a long time to the Taylor now, who I feel like before he was conforming to what the norms were, how he should be, and all that sort of stuff, and trying to fit into society. Whereas now I feel like he's taken his mask off and he's embracing who he is and not trying to fit in, but actually trying to empower who he is as a person with ADHD and autism. So there's no more hiding and trying to downplay what has now become a powerful part of his personality and who he is. And so I think when we feel like we mask or we need to mask, it's often to hide sometimes our struggles, our challenges, but also, and this is for me as a psych who works with a lot of trauma patients, clients, a lot of trauma that they've experienced through no fault of their own at all, for some reason they bear the shame and the guilt of a burden that's not theirs to carry, but they'll mask it so no one would ever know, what's going on behind the scenes. Some of your greatest leaders and people out there in the community are masking a lot of pain that they may have had to carry. Yeah.
Have you had times in your life where you've had to mask pain, trauma, things going on behind the scenes for you? I think we talked about it, especially in the Mother's Day episode as well, some of the stuff that was going on for you, those internal battles. So has there been other times where you've had to mask?
Well, I think there's a lot of times where, believe it or not, there's a lot of situations where I'm probably not the most confident, or I can be quite painfully shy. When I was a kid, I was really shy. And so sometimes I have to mask my feelings of inadequacy, or my feelings of being an imposter in a situation, how can I say this, to give myself the confidence, or to allow myself to feel confident in a space where I don't necessarily believe I'm confident. And so sometimes I'll mask that. Sometimes I'll mask when I'm teaching and I talk about something that's really triggering for me, like, we can be talking about mental impairment as a result of trauma and stuff like that. And so you have to mask when you're helping someone out and they're sharing some horrific trauma that they're going through, and you've been through that, something similar. You have to mask how you feel, because sometimes when I hear what my clients have been through, I feel really angry for them. I feel like, man, if your person who harmed you is right here, I'd want to punch him in the nose, that kind of thing. But it's not very professional of me to sit there feeling like that. And even sometimes when we talk about people that have caused me harm or caused my family harm, I have to mask how I feel because I don't want to give a negative impression where I don't think it would be fair or helpful to the situation. I want to be honest and say who and what and give you an example, but I feel like sometimes, like now, masking, I feel like sometimes I'm like tethered a little bit, like I can't be truly open and honest, even in this space, because I know if I said what I want to say, someone's going to get hurt feelings and we're going to get the backlash from it, right? So I'm not as brave as you yet to do that.
I just say things in a nicer way.
Yeah, I don't have ChatGPT next to me to reframe my words, so I come across a little nicer. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, though, the various topics that we have discussed these past few episodes. And was there one that mainly stood out to you from the top of your head?
I guess not so much stood out for me, but one that reinforced my belief system, and that was the values and the goals. And, of course, us having different views on what that is, what's a goal and what's a value. But at the end of the day, we're still aiming for and achieving and working towards a similar thing.
Yeah.
And yes, I really enjoyed that because I really love that when we know our values and align our behaviour to our values and our decision-making to our values, life, it just seems so much easier when it comes to making big decisions. It's like, is it going to take me towards my values or away from them, And, for us as a family, we've got some big decisions to make in the next little while. And so it's really good to refresh and remember, okay, what's our values? What's my value? My personal value, your personal value, and our family, each person's personal values. And then come together and get, okay, are our values similar? And is the big decision that we're going to make, does it align with everybody's values? Because that's going to be the big thing that's important when you deal with values and that on a communal basis. It's really important that everybody's values are similar, that we're all heading together in a similar direction. Otherwise, that's where conflict can arise, eh?
Yeah. I did enjoy that discussion, even though I'm right.
Because your value tells you
the
that,
comment
right?
section will tell us that I'm right. They know. But it was funny seeing, people. We had a comment saying, I'm struggling who I agree with, and just creating that train of thought for people to be like, hey, it's normal to have a disagreement and have a discussion about it. And even at the end of the episode, I think we still probably disagree with each other, but at least we see each other's perspective a bit better.
But I don't think we still stick to our belief, the way we view it. However, neither of them's wrong. And that's the thing, is that both of them are effective for us.
Yeah.
And getting us to where we need to be. So if someone thinks like you and someone thinks like me, I'm not going to say to the person who thinks like you, you're wrong. Jackson's wrong, but you're not wrong. You know what I mean? It's about that beauty of having, if we saw the world the same, how boring would that be?
Yeah. But speaking of the comments, I have really loved feedback.
Yes.
Hearing people give us ideas, hearing people just interacting with us, and I'm enjoying that. I'm loving that side of the podcast. And that's why one of the episodes that stood out to me as well was our episode on failure, because that was a requested episode. And when we talked about it, we had such an interesting discussion around our perceptions of failure. And since the episode as well, like I've been thinking about failure a lot, and yeah, it really changed my mindset towards what failure is, but also how to combat what would be perceived as failure. And that's, like why I think that video stood out to me so much that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode about the trying to pick up the dumbbells and just doing it. And I think it's so important to realize that doing something, even if you might fail at first, at least you're doing it and you're progressing and you're moving along the path to success. And I think reflecting on that, trying sometimes is the failure. Not trying in the sense of trying to do something, but trying in terms of cutting for me was, trying to cut when I'm still eating like crap and I'm still not doing any cardio.
But is that really trying?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Because you weren't really trying.
That's what I'm saying. And that in the episode I talked about that. You fail when you fail to start. And so that was an episode in particular that stood out to me amongst all of them. I think that was one that's kind of really still been playing on my mind a lot, and how I perceive failure, but also how do I grow from things that I fail in. And so I'm enjoying that journey.
But again, we still have that disagreement on the term failure. Because have you failed in it, or have you just, because to me you don't fail till you stop trying. And you never stop trying in your endeavour to cut. Yes, you'd have moments where you'd go really good with no eating, sugar and stuff like that, doing really good with your diet, and then you'd fall off the wagon for a weekend, but you'd get back on it again on Monday. Now, is that failing, or is that just your journey, your process of working towards being successful in your goal?
Once again, this is where I think we have different mindsets about it. That's why I find it interesting.
Yeah, because for me, it kind of like is scary. Like almost, it's like, it's my soul to think that you would think that you are a failure because you made a mistake. And so many people, I think, really believe that. And for me, it's not true, because we all stuff up. We're all in this life. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to have this flawless record that when we get to the eternities that we haven't messed up, right? Or we haven't made mistakes. But it's all part of the growing and the learning and the empowering and there's no growth in the comfort zone and no comfort in the growth zone. You're always put out of your comfort zone, so you're going to make mistakes, but you're not failing. You're just learning. You can look at mistakes as failure. I look at mistakes as opportunity to learn and grow. Would that be fair?
That's exactly what I think.
Oh,
That's exactly
son.
what I think. I've always said that failure is growth.
Oh, no, I just said though that, yeah, okay.
But beautifully said. What you just said, beautifully said. But we're on the same page in that regard.
So you don't think mistakes are failure?
No, not at all.
So you think...
I don't think mistakes define you either. I think people let mistakes define them.
Yeah, but they refine you. We talked about that.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's how you look at it. Does it define you, who you are? Or does it refine you? And I look at... Actually, that's a really good point, because I look at my history and I look at my adolescence and youth, and actually my whole life I've constantly made mistakes, and some I'm not proud of, but does that define who I am? I could look back and go, okay, because I made these mistakes, then I'm a really bad person, and that's going to be the person that I am. There's no room for growth. Whereas when I look back on the things that I've done, and that I look at it and I think, okay, I need to learn from that. Because if I've hurt people, or people have hurt me or anything like that, I have to learn from it to make sure I don't do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
I think for some reason people probably think life is like a little needle and a meter. And on one end is bad. You're a bad person. On the other end is you're a good person. And every time you make a mistake or do something wrong, the needle starts pointing downward like this, going towards.
No, my one goes down. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what people think. Every time you do something good, it turns it this way. And so, for every 2 bad things you do and one thing, it kind of is correcting itself. But that's not how life is. Mistakes that you do, the failures that you experience, as long as you're learning from, growing from them, becoming a better person, I think we're always good people. The needle is always on this side, and we just got to learn from those mistakes and use them to, like you said, refine us and grow from them. Failure is growth. I think you can't have one without the other. It's a lateral equation.
I just don't like the term failure.
Yeah.
Because for me, the term failure, and I know we battled this out.
Yeah, no, we've talked about this already.
But when you talk about failure, you kind of get into that, not the growth mindset. Whereas when you talk about mistakes and learning and growing, you're continually staying in that growth mindset. But when you bring in that term failure,
episode. We don't need to keep talking about this.
I know. I just want to make sure you know I'm right.
What, you failed to convince me?
I'm just not there yet. It's a work in progress, son.
Whatever. No, but...
Okay, so we've talked about feedback and comments that people have been made, and several of them have said that they really love our relationship and the dynamic that we have, the relationship that we have. I just feel like I need to reassure people that this is who we are. However, it's not always a bed of roses. Like sometimes there's a pain in the butt. You're a pain in the butt.
No, we talk about this on episodes. About how we butt heads before we come into filming sometimes. I don't think that's an unknown to people. Yeah, I think maybe people enjoy this because it's a bit more casual, like this mother-son relationship. But yeah, there are times where I make you cry, I make you upset, you get frustrated with me probably more often than you guys can ever imagine.
Because I mask it.
Yes. And the same for me. There's times where I'm just like, I don't want to talk to you. Stop talking. Just give me space. Go away. And that can happen literally minutes before we start filming, and we kind of just have to sit here and be like, put up with each other. Like deep down, we're laughing and we're like this in front of the camera, but deep down we're like, oh, you're so annoying.
No, I don't believe that.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
But what I really like though about our relationship is we can get really frustrated with each other. We can feel really angry at each other, but we can resolve it. Like we'll always talk about it. We'll always come together. We'll always, be respectful of each other's, even in our annoyance. But I think that's probably an episode in itself is relationships and how to have good, healthy relationships where you can disagree. You can annoy each other, and it's okay, but it's how you deal with that. What do you do? How do you resolve that and work through it? And so, yeah, I am really grateful because, again, this is us.
Yeah.
This isn't fake. If we didn't like each other, both of us are honest enough and have enough integrity that you'd see it on the camera.
Yeah.
We don't try and mask that, yeah. So I'm grateful that the viewers pick up on that and that they've commented on several. That's probably been the most commented on or feedback I've got about our podcasts, and that is that yeah, they love the relationship. Why are you laughing?
No, just because I think we have an interesting relationship, you and I.
But it's
As a
healthy.
mother-son dynamic.
Yeah, mother-son. But yes, because you forget to acknowledge that your mother's always right. Haven't you heard the song "Mother's No Mother
I think
Knows Best"?
you forgot the part where you have to be right. I think you've missed that part out. So nah. But
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Once again, like I think we've said this a lot, but I do love having this opportunity to film with you, and I'm learning along the way, and I hope you've been learning as well, different things as we've had these discussions, and we've touched on it a few times, but I feel like, diving into it even more would be cool, but about the difference in generations, the difference in mindsets that we have as different people, and finding common ground, finding where we disagree, but ultimately just having a conversation. Because there's people probably in your generation, in your situation, well, in a similar boat to you that have a certain train of thought, and there's probably people like me with a similar train of thought. But it's about finding that middle ground and finding what we agree and disagree on and seeing another perspective on things.
I think it'd be really good to have your sister on for that one.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Add another layer. But no.
Which one? I have two amazing sisters.
Oh, I wouldn't dare put both of them on here with you.
I don't think we'd speak if those two are on here. No, I love them. But no, it'll be interesting. And thank you as an audience member for messaging us, for reaching out, for leaving comments. Like, it means the world to us. As people have no idea what we're doing, these are the things that keep us going. And so knowing that, hey, you guys are loving our dynamic, cool, we're going to lean into that more. If people are like, hey, we want you to talk about this, we want to talk about those things. What you guys think matters to us. And so please comment below ideas, topics, things you want to see more of.
People that you might think, hey, I'd really like to see them on here. Okay, we won't be able to probably get any famous people, but we may be able to get people in that field.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
Let's keep that open, that broad.
Yeah. I mean, I follow a few different podcasts and a few different people, and, there's some incredible people out there who I'd love to have on, but we'll work our way up slowly but surely.
Hey, we've had incredible guests, and they've been impactful. And that I think is a real key of who we are too, is this podcast is about real people, everyday people. You look at Louis, you look at Dion, you look at Taylor. They've been our three guests because they're just everyday people who are doing stuff or experiencing things that they want to share with other people so other people can learn and grow through their journey. And that's what I love about what we do, is that, we're just everyday people. And again, I really appreciate the feedback, because for me, because remember the very first episode, I said, okay, we'll be lucky if we get one viewer, right? So when I see feedback, I'm like, oh, someone's actually watching, and that's really important to me, because I think, having someone reach out, and I'm getting feedback in different places, like, personal feedback and what have you, from people of such a vast array of people, that I'm like, that is so cool. I'm so excited, because it's not just a type or a demographic. It's like so exciting, because there's so many different people from different walks of life who are sharing experiences that they can relate to, that we've talked about. So I really love it. I really, that inspires me to keep going. When at times I just think, I don't want to do it. Because I feel like, not helping, or not, is this actually beneficial to anyone? And then I get that feedback, and it's like, thank you. I just needed to hear that.
Yeah. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, all of that stuff. We appreciate love the support, so keep it up, and it's what keeps us going. So don't forget to join us next week on
Into Minds, where heart
and hustle
meet the mic.
We'll see you next time.
Ka kite.
You think what I'm thinking?
Probably not.